kukhwela tinqola ate kwathi kufinyelela esibayeni. Ngakho ke ngekweluleka kwato tangoma telitulu sibaya sekugcina angeke sisaba khona lomuhla njengoba tingemashumi lamatsatfu nakunye kuyo impala, kepha sesitawuba khona ngalesihlanu mhla titintsatfu kulo Lweti. Lilanga lekuvala sibaya ke ngalo lesihlanu Maswati lamahle. eMaswati ayakhutsatwa kutsi aphelele ngetinkhani kuwo onkhe emagumbi lamane emhlaba ngensimbi yemfica ekuseni. Tinqola tekuhamba titabe ticitfwe lonke live laseswatini. Bayethe!
Bayethe!
Good morning. It's Wednesday, the 1st of November, the second last month of the year 2023. Oh, what a blessing it has been to make it to today. We're starting off today with 8 degrees temperatures, expected to rise up to 16 degrees Celsius. Ngwadelo muhle sikuvusele lapho usibukela khona, ngabe ulapha ekhaya eSwatini, ngabe ungephandle kwalapha ekhaya, ngabe usibukela kumabona kude noma ngabe ke usibukela kubo YouTube. It is a very good morning. It is the 1st of November, a month that has been globally identified to raise awareness on men's health issues such as anxiety, prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and man's suicide. It is a topic that we have a lot of interest in discussing. Dr. Kwaku Betterman from Lina Mandla will discuss this topic with us further this first hour of our program at 6:30 a.m. On the second hour, we connect with government spokesperson via a video link to get a clarification on a social media post by Mr. Xolani Mazia, Leswati students seeking help in Morocco. The government of the Kingdom of Eswatini has responded with a 4-page statement that has clarified most of the questions that Emaswati had when the post first came up just a day and a half ago on social media. Quite a lot of comments and reactions from Emaswati regarding Olani's situation out there in Morocco and how he's went about to seek help in Morocco and outside of Morocco, particularly here in Eswatini. Alpheus Kumal is going to clarify all of that with us at 7:30 a.m. So do stay with us as we bring you this show this morning. Sikatileke kwelo muhle ukuthi sisata uqhubeka nalo luhlelo sitaba nalabake lababili labatakuta lapha ehlelweni kodwa nje luhlelo lwethu litawuhamba njengenjwayelo sitawubuka tindzaba talapha ekhaya uma singena lihlelweni sitibuke ke naleti tesingisi talapha ekhaya sitawubuka tesiswati netesingisi bese sibuka naletiqhamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli kodwa kwanyalo ake sibuke letihamba embili kusa kwalomuhla emaphephandzabeni elive. Okay, siqale-ke ngikubuka le tigijima embili ke Eswatini Observer. This is the front page. Historic. Sorry, well, there was a mistake there. He fired 8 shots is the leading headline. This one speaks to Deputy Sheriff Vusi Mncina, who looks on after his arraignment at the Lobamba Circuit Court yesterday. Kulesasitfombe kanzi-ke Thuli Mkhwanazi, who survived the shooting, is the other photo that is right next to the Deputy Sheriff Vusi Mncina right there. Kanzi-ke kuthiwa the Deputy Sheriff has officially been charged with murder of 4 women. 3 women shot twice each, while the 4th was shot in the eye. Heartbreaking indeed. On the other leading stories, Mhlekazi jets off to South Africa. Kanzi, the third one, speaks to Friday, which is now D-Day for Sibaya. It's been announced officially that the last day of Sibaya is going to be Friday by Sifiso Mashambu Kumalo Mngane Makhosi. Kanzi-ke, the last one, 4 out of 5. SANU offers lecturers 70% of salaries. Sibuka ke temidlalo ku Eswatini Observer this Wednesday morning. Stadiums struggle haunts EFA. Sihlangu has been deprived of home ground advantage. Somhlolo is far from being compliant to CAF standards. Bombela Stadium an alternative for now. Kanzike Lindo Kudus wish Sihlangu well soccer. Despite being left out of the national team setup, Green Mamba veteran midfielder Mkolisi Kudus Mkondo and Zambia-based defender Lindo Mkonda have wished the national team all the best of luck in their game against Libya in the 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Those are the leading headlines this morning. Eswatini Observer, Sibuke Eswatini Daily News. Deputy Sheriff Vusi shot to kill. The alleged murderer Vusi Mncina, who gunned down 5 unarmed women, aimed his shots on killer spots in the human body. And on Tuesday, Mncina made his first appearance at the Lobamba Magistrates Court before Magistrate Demandibanze Shongwe. His wife was present in court to lend a hand of support. On another one, final day of Sibaya has been moved to Friday. The last leading headline, accused number 1 in ATM bombing case, validates that they were forced to confess. Sibuke temidlalo ku Eswatini Daily News this Wednesday morning. It's 1 week South African camp for Sihlangu. The Eswatini Football Association has lined up a 5-day camp in South Africa for the national team. Sihlangu for the opening 2 2026 World Cup qualifiers against Libya and Cape Verde on November 13 and 17 to be hosted at Mbombela Stadium. On another one, Swallows Madlenya in fierce contest. Kaizer Chiefs is to play without fans is the leading story. Last leading story rather on Eswatini Daily News. Tingako letgijima embili kumaphephandaba elive sibahlole emakethe sibuya sibuka tesiswati talapha ekhaya lebeti hamba embili yesukweni la idolo.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eveni.
Ngephansi kwalomgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba letenteka ngaleso sikhatsi, tindzaba letide emagama laqosheme, letitsembekile, letitsintsa tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni.
Kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo netemhlaba wonke jikelele siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhatsi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulomsakato siphindze sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letiqhamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba loutiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.
What do you think the best part of traveling is? Is it the food, or is it the conversation, or is it the sights and sound? If you're ready to explore, we are ready to show you the best way how. We'll give you access to the best luxury getaway sites in the Kingdom of Eswatini, and of course show you vacation sites that suit your budget, because you do not need a lot of money to actually have a great time. Join us on the next adventure on Buhle Bethu, only on Eswatini TV.
Mizuzu le imfica kubumbene insimbi yesithupha sithokotele nathi indzaba talapha ekhaya eSiswati. Indlovukazi Mhlekazi isukile kuleli yalibhekisa eveni leNingizimu Afrika. Kanti-ke indlovu yemhlaba isukele esikhumulweni setindiza eKing Mswati the 3rd International Airport.
Sive seMaswati siphumile kutawuvelelisa indlovukazi Mhlekazi noma nje umdali abekathe asibusise ngama-28 Mvula. Indlovu yemhlaba isukele esikhumulweni setindiza iKing Mswati the 3rd International Airport yalibhekisa eveni labomakhelwane eNingizimu Afrika. Lebe bakhona esikhumulweni setindiza kutawuvelelisa indlovu yemhlaba bekubomake imakhosikati Sigodlo kunye nalabanye labakhulu embusweni welive. Edintabeni kubika Pholile Maziya esikhumulweni setindiza iKing Mswati the 3rd International Airport.
Ngonyama sayichubele sibaya embili ngenxa yetimvula letisabalele eveni. Kanti-ke ngekusho kwemngane wamakhosi indvuna Sifiso Mafele enkosini Khumalo, silo semhlaba sesibeke langa lesihlanu ukuthi kube lilanga lokugcina lwesibaya.
Ninebe kunene ngiphethe nathi tindzaba letibuya enkosini. Ithi ingwenyama nali litulu alifuni kukhwesha noma kuhamuka. Nemibiko ikhomba ukuthi eMaswati lamanyenti akakhoni kufinyelela emabhasini atekwati kukhwela tinqola atekwati kufinyelela esibayeni. Ngakho-ke ngekweluleka kwato tangoma telitulu sibaya sekugcina angeke sisaba khona lomuhla njengoba tingemashumi lamatsatfu nakunye kuyo imphala. Kepha sesitawuba khona ngalesihlanu mhla titintsatfu kulo Lweti. Lilanga lekuvala sibaya ke ngalo lesihlanu Maswati lamahle. eMaswati ayakhutsatwa kutsi aphelele ngetinkhani kuwo onke emagumbi lamane emhlaba ngensimbi yemfica ekuseni. Tinqola tekuhamba titabe ticitfwe lonke live laseSwatini. Bayethe!
Lisekela lamabhalane lomkhulu etiko letemfundvo lobuke tikolwa lungelonhlengetwa kanye nemcondziso wemabhizinisi lamancane etiko letemabhizinisi Mluleki Dlamini batsi inhlangano yaka Junior Achievement kanye naleyo yaka Inactors badlala indzima lenkhulu kulwa nekweswelakala kwemisebenti kanye ke nasekufukuleni umnotfo welakuleli. Bakusho lokhu ngesikhathi kusukunyiswa ngalokusemthethweni kusebenzisana emkhatsini kwa JA kanye na Inactors kulandzela ukuthi leti inhlangano titfole kwesekelwa ngemali lethi ayibe netulu kwehalf yesigidi 500,000 emalangeni.
It's a project that has already started in September and it's finishing in February. The project proposes or it seeks to strengthen the capacity of 1,500 adolescents that are in 15 schools.
Ngekusho komcondziso ka-Junior Achievement Phethile Masilela lokusebenzisana emkhatsini kwenhlangano yaka-Junior Achievement kanye naleyo yaka-Inactors kutawusita abantwana besikolo labayinkulungwane labaneminyaka lesuka kulelishumi kuya kulelishumi-nesikhombisa labavela etikolweni letilishumi-nesihlanu kutawuphindze futhi kusite abantu labasha labengama-647 labaneminyaka lesuka eshumini-nesiphohlongo kuya kulabeneminyaka lengama-35. Lisekela lamabhalane lomkhulu etiko letemfundo lobuke tikolwa lungelonhlengetwa kanye nemcondziso wemabhizinisi lamancane nalasemkhatsini etiko letemabhizinisi kanye nekutsengisela Mluleki Dlamini bakhuthaza abantu labasha ukuthi bacale emabhizinisi.
Ngeke itiko letemfundo nangani through JA and Inactors for helping our kids ukuthi bangene into such programs. Such programs as a state as a country, ukuthi sikhona kubona ukuthi sifundzisa ini.
Siyathemba lokuthi tawuhamba isite kakhulu konke lemisebenti JA nabo Inactors labayendako. So siyathemba lokuthi nje nabo labatawu participate kuba tawusitakala kakhulu phindze address onke ama challenges la khona la face youth unemployment.
We see projects that gender related, gender empowerment, women and girls that are focusing on women and girls.
Lokhulumela lovisi lalonxusele elive laseCanada eveni laseMozambique lokungilelo lelisekelelo lihlelo eliqhutshwa ngeJunior Achievement kanye nenhlangano yaka-Inactors bathi basekathi inhlelo letiletha kuthuthuka eziveni. Abantu labasha labangenelo lihlelo lwaka-Junior Achievement kanye nalelo laka-Inactors bathi kukhulu abakuzuzile kakhulu ukuthi emabhizinisi ekuba ingcenye yaleti inhlangano etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla lisembabane.
Libandla leliphunga tehlakalo kuleli National Disaster Management Agency seletfule ukuthi kuletimvula letichubekako letahlasela kamadima ngalesihlanu tikhinyabete emakhaya langu-183. Kanti umchumanisi walelibandla nesive Wandile Mavuso uthi bantfu labakhinyabetekile banganga 915. Mavuso uthi emakhaya lamanyenti alimalelwe emafastelo kanye nemathayela.
Umonakalo ube mningi kakhulu ke bekunene la sibone khona ukuthi emafastelo nemathayela kube ngolokushayeke kakhulu kulamakhaya. Sihambile ke senta licwaningo loliphuthumako i-rapid assessments in-NDMA sabuya nayimininingwane lelandzelako kalamgabhi nje imiti leshayekile ibe ngu-87 kwathi bantu labatsinzekako babalelwa kulaba ngu-435 kulobamba lomdzala imiti ibe ngu-77 bantu labathikabetako baba ngu-385 kwase kuthe kwaluseni imiti yabasithupha bantu labathikabetako baba 30 kumangcongco imiti bemine bantu labathikabetekile baba 20 mhlambanyathi umuntu bemunye bantu baba 5 emanzini north imiti besihlanu bantu labathikabetekile babe ngu-25 ekukhanyeni imiti bemithathu bantu labathikabetekako baba ngu-15 lokusho ukuthi nasesicathanisa sesibala bekunene imiti leshayekile kule sangcofo lesendeke kule mpelasonto lesibuya kiyo ilinganiselwa kule 183 bese kuthi bantu ke labathikabetekile ngile sangcofo baba ngu-915. Siyabalilela ke laba labalahlekelwe impahla bekunene kungaba kucela nje nekuyala eziveni semaswati bekunene ukuthi siyatibona timvula tiyachubeka tiyana siyacela abangwane ukuthi longesheya kube ngilongesheya bashayeli nabantu labahamba ngetinyawo bangalokothi bawele imifula leseyigcwele.
Uvelile enkantolo kaMantshi kaLobamba Vusi Charles Mncina lobekwe emacala lamane kubulala kanye nalinye lekwetama kubulala. Uvele ke embi kwaMantshi Temantimanze Shongwe latse akagcinwe esitokisini kude kube ngu-10 kule nyanga letako.
Vusi Mncina loneminyaka lengama-45 ungulendvodza lesolwa ngekudubula ibulala esingane sayo kanye nabomakhe labanye labathathu eGoje Township eBuzulwini ngemgcibelo ophelile. Lelicala lekucala latfeselona Mncina lekubulala ngenhloso nonhlanhla thwala lokuthiwa wamdubula ebeleni langesekudla kanye nangemuva ngesencele. Lesibili labhekene nalo lekudubula bulala elungile Shongwe kuthiwa wamdubula esiswini ngephansi ngasekudla waphindze futhi wamdubula ngenhla kwelibele langasekudla. Lesithathu labhekene nalo ngilelo lokubulala Fikile Shongwe kuthiwa wamdubula ebeleni langasekudla kanye nasemkhonweni wangasekudla. Lesine labhekene nalo umsolwa ngilelo lokuthiwa lekudubula bulala Khulile Shongwe ngakumdubula esihlathini sangasekudla ngephansi kweliso. Umsolwa Mncina uphindze futhi ubhekene nalelo lokutama kubulala Thuli Mkhwanazi lokuthiwa wamdubula esifubeni. Umbuso ufake isicelo enkantolo ukuthi umala athathe ingadi yemsolwa. Umsolwa uvele bekakatsethe ummeli kanti watisa inkantolo ukuthi uthi khulumela. Inkantolo ibe siyambuta ukuthi uyasiphikisa yini noma uyasivuma lesicelo sembuso. Uvele wathi akaphikisani naso. Inkantolo inikete umbuso lesicelo lebekade asicelile. Inkantolo imelulekile umsolwa ukuthi angafaka isicelo sekutokela ngephandle enkantolo lenkulu. Iphindze futhi yameluleka ukuthi lesicelo angasifaka yena mathupha noma akasebenzisa ummeli wakhe. Imatisile umsolwa inkantolo ukuthi sotawumela ukuthi icala lakhe limikiswe enkantolo lenkulu. Mncina enkantolo kaMantshi eMbabane ngemsembuluko utfule ubufakazi lobufungelwe lapho bekachaza khona ukuthi wabenta kanjani lobucala. Etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla ngisenkantolo kaMantshi kaLobamba.
Uhulumende welive weSwatini uthi seyifikile etindlebeni takhe indzaba eliswati lelitfola umfundzate wekuyofundza even leMorocco lokungixolani Maziya. Sitawufuna kuchubeka nato tindzaba. Libandla lelivela emsakatweni wetitfombe welive laseSwatini Namibia livakashele kuleli kutothelekela lwati emsakatweni wetitfombe Eswatini TV. Kanzike leli bandla lemukelwe ngumphathi welihlangothi lwetebunjinela kulo msakato Titus Mavimbela. Lotsite nalo msakato utimisele ukuthi kube khona la kufundzako ngelivakasho lolisemtsetfweni loleli bandla le-NPC.
We are happy to be with you today here. We have been expecting you for many reasons. We want to make that a relationship with you guys, sharing skills from Namibia and from us this side, and see how can we help each other. Our main aim is showing you our organization, the setup and the workflow from different departments. And what we have come here for, I understand that we are going to be attached to different departments.
Ngemuva kwekuthi eMaswati kakhulu bomake betfule emanyeva mayelana nekuthi bemukwa imihlaba ngesizathu sekuthi sebede emadvodza inhlangano lesita bomake lesebashonelwe bayeni babo umhluma sewusite eMaswati langu-8 ukuthi yakhona ukutfola emakhaya lebebemukwe wona.
Kube kunyenti kulandzisa kwawo eMaswati kakhulu bomake nabobabe esibayeni mayelana nekuhlukubeteka ngekuthathelwa emakhaya abo ngalokungekho emthethweni. Umsunguli wenhlangano yeMhluma Foundation lesita eMaswati ukuthi atfole emakhaya lesebemukwe wona ikakhulu bafelokati Lungelo Zulu uchaza ngemibiko lesebakhonile kuyisombulula.
Le kulomnyaka aqale nje umnyaka lo ema cases lesibenawo across the region on 4 emhlaba ayefika ku200 lesikhonile ukuthi siwasebente nyalo ale kubo 80 lamanye ke ayaphenda ngokuthi kukhona lekudzinga ukuthi sikwende in terms of our investigation nathi sile office lamanye ayaphenda ukuthi amele angene kandaba zabantu lamanye ayaphenda ukuthi sisabuka ukuthi lamanye akasebenzeke ngathi la bekunene bahlala la ekhaya elikhulu abahlala nalabo perpetrator and so kuze isebenzeke nathi umsuse uyombeka ku safe space and so ngilokunye lokukhanzakala ukuthi kuyanako kukhona but dineng letinye sizathe futhi inzabe sisebentile tayayita inkantolo taphumelela lokuchaza sobala ukuthi letinkinga tikhona letinkinga tiyanza imihla nemalanga kuze ke sichubekele phambili kufuna ukuthi lo naloyo avume ukuthi kukhona la kuhambeke khona kabi singalungisa njani because le indzaba leti temihlaba ukhanza ukuthi esikhathini esiningi lesikutfolile thina afile babe make utawuhlala endlini 30 days njengelisiko lethu bese imihlaba iyathathwa ngaleyo ndlela because make angeke akhone kuya endlunkulu nathi uthumela abantwana ithi indlunkulu ayikhulumi nebantwana and so kunengi lefuna ukuthi ke sikulungise.
Zulu uthi leminye imibiko ayikhona kusombululeka ngetizatfu letehlukene. Etindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni kunaThemba Shabangu kaManzini.
Litiko letasekhaya latisa sive sasespiki esifundzeni sakahoho ukuthi emahhovisi yalelitiko lakuleya ndzawo ukuthi akasiwo lasebenta kahle ngenxa inkinga te-network. Kanzi ngomchumanisi walelitiko Mlandvo Dlamini uthi ngaleso sizatfu lelihhovisi likhona noma ke liyakhona kubhalisa certificate tekutalwa kanye netekufa ngesivinini lesingakadayeleki. Uchubeka uthi kuleli hhovisi lelisespiki akukhonakali kukhicita sichaza buve lesatiwa ke nge-National Identity Card. Uxolisile ngalokhu nangekuphazamiseka lokungavela. Ungete ukuthi imitamo yendiwa ukuthi lesimo sekubabete network silungiswe kungakudzala. Uthi uma lesimo sesibuyele esimeni sive sitawatiswa. Dlamini uchubeka ungeta ukuthi lelitiko liyaxolisa eMaswatini ngalesimo wajinga wathembisa ukuthi imitamo yendiwa ukuthi simo sibuyele kulesetayelekile. Kunemfana leminyaka lemibili lolahlekile emadulini. Gogo walomfana Kusile Mamba uyalandzisa ukuthi walahleka kanjani nasasihlanganisa ke lombiko bese kuyevakala ukuthi lomfana utfolakele afile.
Kutfolakele umntfwana longumfana loneminyaka lemibili wasemadulini afile ngasenkatseni yalinye lemakhaya alendzawo. Lo mntfwana utfolakele ngetitfuba tensimbi yesihlanu idolo ntsambama. Kantsi yasengakatfolakali sikhulumisene nagogo wakhe longuVuyile Mamba lolandzisa ngekutsi walahleka kanjani.
Ngihlala nemyeni wakahamba besibanze sengibantwana lababili lo lahlekile ngilomncane lo mdzala una 5 eminyaka ufundza grade 0. Ngiyavuka ke ngiyalungiselela nginta incwancwa benginesingwa nginta naso ngiyabentela ke ngibese ngiyaphuma ngiyalapha engadini la ngilimalime khona abantu abami benginelikhudlana ke ngicale ngihlakule matamati solo nje ngihle ngiyababuka ngeliso lakhaya ngoba ngihlale ngenta njalo ngiyachubeka ngiyababona sekusekugcineni sebatawulahleka kwabalisitha ngibabonanga ukuthi baphuma ngayiphi indlela ngoba lo munye bhuti lo wafika ngoba besibathathu nasihlakula lapha kugcina kwakhona esukwini uthi yena wabagcina lapha egedini akangena bekunga-9:30 mina ke nangibuya kuceda kuhlakula bekuyoshaya bo 2:12 ngibute uphi umntwana acalateke uphi umntwana ngithi hamba ulandze umntwana ahambe ke ngithi kepha ngihamba ngiyasala yini mina ngitshela ukuthi ulapha kulamakhaya bomagagula la ngivama kumshiya khona kani umntwana akekho khona.
Ngekusho kwemibiko lendzawo lapho umtimba walomntfwana utfolakele khona ilinganiselwa ku1 kilometer kusuka ekhaya kubo kantsi yabehakeke ngaphansi adalati. Lobika-ke tindzabeni Eswatini TV nguthando kuhle Mdluli ngisemadulini.
Kusukela asukile umnyaka wa 2023 kute kube ngulenyanga lesetulu yamacala ekubulala labikwe esifundzeni sakahoho ange-47 bese kutibulala abange-48. Lokhu kuvetwe ngumphathi wemaphoyisa esifundzeni sakahoho Simangele Motsa ngesikhathi asukumisa ngalokusemthethweni inkonzo ekuthandazela letigameko leticala ngalesithathu kute kube ngulesihlanu emaphoyiseni yesipiki.
Kulokusukunyiswa ngokusemthethweni kwalenkosi umphathi wamaphoyisa esifundeni sakaHhohho Simangele Motha bekamelelwe ngulobuka emacala lobenteka kubongcondo mshina emaphoyiseni Senior Superintendent Nicholas Jele.
Kusho ukuthi bakhona labangawephuta lo moya noma ke siniketiwe bagunya ewephuta lo moya usilalele. Niwe bathasi ngoba sokukhulumile sesiyakhupha that is why silaba ngoba ngethu namhla sitokhupha ema-trenches sesilimele emotionally psychologically and otherwise silimele but singakukhupha imigodi letha usilifresa kuthole sithole lithemba lelisa sikhona ukubhekana nalesimo sisithe eMaswati.
Umbishop Zakaria Mthethwa uthi indzaba yekubulalana kanye nekutibulala idzinga ukuthi live lonke liyisukumele kanti umfundisi Mduduzi Makhanya wasemaphoyiseni ukusata ukuthi labo labanetinkinga abaxoxisayo nalabanye abantu ukuthi bathole lisito.
Ungathi ngabe sisukuma sonke singeMaswati sisukume siye stadium noma siyamasha ithi bekunene sesifile imeda sifile isuicide.
Sina ngabe kunesimo lobhekane naso asingagcini la kuwe lesimo khuluma nalomunye umuntu.
Esiteshini semaphoyisa saseMbabane kubekwe emacala ekubulalana la-17 ekutibulala la-18 esiteshini sakalobamba sitfupha ekubulala bese ekutibulala aba-10 bese esiteshini nesipiki abangama-24 bese langama-20 abangilawo ekutibulala. Etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla titfombe litfolakele emaphoyiseni ehlangothini letekuchumana.
Kutemidlalo, mengameli wenhlangano yemidlalo wemabhayisikili Zwide Nxumalo uthumisa emacembu langephansi kwalenhlangano ngekuchubeka nekutama kutfutfukisa lo mdlalo lapha eveni ngekubamba imchutselwano yawo. Nxumalo bekakhuluma ngemuva kwekutsi licembu lekusekhaya cycling libambe umchutselwano we-Lowfield Invitational kulempelasonto lesibuya kuyo. Kanti-ke kuletinye advancene emacembu lasiphohlongo ebadlali labaneminyaka lengaphansi kwel-13 latodlala emidlalweni yetitolo taka-Build It letawudlalelwa-ke emavuso kaManzini. Kanti-ke lamacembu abuya etifundzeni letine telive lapho kunetitolo taka-Build It khona. Tingako lesikuphathele tona teSiswati ngwanelo muhle sitawubuka simo selitulu sibuye sikhulumisane na dokotela waselinamandla ngetindzaba te-men's health. Thirty-three minutes after 6, welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. We did highlight on the beginning of the show that since it is November, the 1st of November to be exact. It is a month that has been globally identified to raise awareness on men's health issues such as anxiety, prostate cancer, testicular cancer, and men's suicide, amongst others. Dr. Kwaku Benaman, General Practitioner with Lina Mandla, speaks to us now, joins us to further this conversation. Doctor, a very good morning. Welcome to the program. I hope you're doing well.
Thanks, Visa. Yes, I'm doing well. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, let's talk about this very important month. As a male counterpart myself, I feel like females tend to be doing better than us. I don't know if that's a reflection in what you observe in the clinics and hospitals when you help us. But talk to me about this month. What is it really that you observe, particularly between men and women, when it comes to health-seeking behavior?
Yeah, thanks a lot, Visa. I think it's what you said is very accurate. In my professional experience, I think we see that women tend to have way better health-seeking behaviors.
Okay.
I think men tend to take more risks, especially with their health. So they tend to write off feeling unwell and saying, look, I have other things to take care of. Let me do my own thing, and then, if it gets worse, then I'll go see a doctor. So often we'll wait until our leg is hanging by a thread, and then we'll go in and see the doctor.
You only have one life to live, and for me, whenever I feel like I'm going through something, the first instinct is I need to consult with the doctor. I need to check with the doctor because I understand I only have one life to live. What is the trend then? Are we seeing an improvement in male health-seeking behavior? Because I'm seeing, obviously there was the pandemic. I don't know what you guys saw there because it affected every one of us, but also there are other epidemics and other diseases, very serious ones, particularly cancer, prostate cancer and other cancers. Are we seeing male do better as years go by? Because you also do a lot of awarenesses as health practitioners.
I feel, in my personal experience, I think men have been left a bit behind. I think we've tended to be focusing a lot more on cervical cancer screening and things like that. You do have men being told, when you turn 40, make sure you go and go for prostate screening. I do find, the middle age, like from the 50, 60-year-olds, they're the ones who normally come in and say, I'm coming in to get my prostate checked out. But a lot of them are coming in because they are symptomatic. Not many people come in and say, look, I'm at this age, let me come in and get some treatment, some medical advice and some screening. So I think we need better awareness, more publicity, letting the men know, like this is a thing, and we need you to come in and get screened so we can early detection and early treatment.
Yeah, and early detection is very serious when it comes to cancer. I do realize though, HPV, like cervical cancer, men can, exacerbate the prevalence of cervical cancer. So that relationship to me is quite interesting because if we have a lot of programs raising awareness on cervical cancer, should there not be similarly a lot of programs raising awareness on male, how they carry themselves and just male cancers?
Sifiso, I think you're 100% correct there. We need to have men more accountable for their actions. I think as leaders in our households, leaders in the industries, we have, women are coming up. We have to give them their dues. They are taking control of their health. They are taking control of their family life and everything like that. And us men are lagging a bit behind. So we need to step into the shoes that God gave us as the head of our households, and take accountability. Make sure that we are keeping our women safe, making sure that we are getting tested regularly, making sure that we are going with our partners for screening, and then we don't want to leave children behind. So we need to make sure we take care of ourselves so we can take care of our family. And then, a healthier nation is a wealthier nation, as we all know.
Yeah. I want us to talk about mental health. We do see a lot of men. In fact, there was a spike, I believe it was early last year we saw a spike in men committing suicide, but it's not a lot of men that talk about, such issues. In fact, I find it even with my friends, it's not easy for us to be vulnerable with each other. And it's so funny, I saw a tweet just a day ago. This man was cautioning men not to be, to confide in their partners. He said something along the lines of, man, I ask you right now, whenever you're going through something, don't tell your girlfriend because they will use it against you. Do we have a social problem in relationships where women, there may be cases that where they use, where we've been vulnerable with them against us when we have arguments in the future? Is it a social problem? How do we fix this? Because if we can't be vulnerable, then we will bottle up these things, and surely it's a ticking time bomb.
Yes, that's true once again, Sifi. So I think, I don't know why it is, but I think, as growing up in my culture, we were told, don't be such a girl, man up. So a lot of men from an early age have felt that being vulnerable is not manly. But I think we have to change that narrative and let men know, look, open up, find the right person for you. Because if you find the right person, they want to build you up. They don't want to tear you down. So if you find the right spouse, definitely that's the person you confide in before anyone else. Just let them know what you're going through. Because as you said, you bottle things up, it simmers, and then you explode. And when that happens, it comes out in different ways. That's why the suicide rate has spiked. That's why there's gender-based violence that's spiking. Drug abuse, alcohol abuse, all those things. So, yeah.
And what are we saying to men when it comes to vulnerability? Are we saying men shouldn't man up the typical way that we've been told growing up? Are those cliches sort of outdated or dangerous? What are we saying, and how do we go about, grieving or going through our own frustrations as men?
I think we have to tear down those walls. We've built up so many walls as men, so that we can appear to our counterparts as being a manly man. But then behind closed doors, we're a different person. So I think, yes, tear those walls down. Vulnerability it's a manly thing. It's a human thing. In this day and age where we have gender equality and, everyone is on an equal playing field, we should be allowed to express, us being vulnerable, our shortcomings, because it's only in expressing that and coming to terms with it and acknowledging it that we can actually get better. So be vulnerable, let people know what's going on with you, and then, yes, get the help that you need, and you will see that life gets better and better.
Yeah. Maybe before I ask you my second question, let me tell you a little story. I shared a conversation with a friend just yesterday. It was a very cold day. We on our way to the gym. It's been a cold couple of days. And he's like, are you realizing that people are starting to adopt going to the gym like maybe people in America, people in South Africa, because in Eswatini it hasn't been a culture or a lifestyle like that, especially during cold days. But we are seeing a lot of people right now adopting this kind of lifestyle, particularly men, because most of the time we start a gym around 2019, we go into the gym, what we realize is that it's a lot of women in here. And what are they doing? Aerobics, stepping, cycling, they call it spinning. But we are seeing men becoming more and more active. I'm not too sure about eating healthy because that can be a challenge on its own per person. But how important is it to eat healthy and to be physically active for men's health?
I think that's the utmost important thing. Health starts with what you put into your body and how you take care of your body. So getting a good night's sleep, eating the right types of foods at the right times of the day, and then finding time to be physically active. Those are very important. I know, as you said, when you do go to gyms, you see a lot of women there, and they're in classes, and I think it's more fun that way. Us men, especially me, when my wife first started going to the gym and started attending classes and used to invite me to spin and step, I'm like, that's not a man's thing to do. We're there to lift weights, So I think if you get more men involved in classes, in groups, running, like jogging groups, tennis clubs, a football club or something like that, it helps to stay active. And then you discuss, you know, meal plans, and you can discuss other things around your mental health and things like that. So I think it's very important.
It's quite interesting. I want to delve into the correlation between being healthy and looking physically fit, because like you mentioned, it's very important to, you know, branching into these other things that women do a lot, which falls maybe, I'd say, in the spectrum of cardiovascular fitness. I want to get into that, but before we get into that, you spoke about sleeping enough. It's quite interesting in this trying economic times. You find yourself doing 2 jobs, and that means you don't have really enough time to sleep. I might, you know, knock off here and maybe do another remote job when I get to the house. How much time is enough time for sleep? How much rest is good enough rest for being healthy?
It's relative, but I mean, there's a lot of research that's been done, and I think, you know, the general consensus is 6 to 8 hours.
Okay.
You know, just a stretch overnight, and so, you know, a lot of people will think, you know, let me split it up during the day. But the way our sleep cycles work, and I won't get into that to bore everyone, but the way our sleep cycles work, you need to have slept a specific amount of time to get rest. If I could take your cell phone, for example, you know, some people will want to charge it, you know, once it gets to 85%, you push it up to 100, 85%, push it. Or other people let it go all the way down to 5%, you know. But that's not how the human body works. You need that rest to, you know, to help recuperate when you're fighting off an infection. You know, after a long day's work to process what's gone on, you know, so it helps to regenerate the body for it to recuperate. And, you know, going back to when you're a child, that's the time when you grow. So a lot of the greatest decisions that we'll ever make will come during the time that we're asleep, and, you know, that's why, you know, you have a good dream, and then, you know, that turns into something, and then, you know, great things come out of that. So I would say between 6 to 8 hours of sleep every night, uninterrupted. I think that's what we're aiming for.
Okay, I'll take 6 hours. 8 hours is quite hard to, you know, to get because of the many tasks and the many jobs that we have nowadays. I wanted us to get into this conversation of physical fitness and just, you know, being healthy, because being healthy and looking physically fit, for me, I don't believe that it's what you really look like aesthetically. I've had some people that have, you know, I'd say, okay, let's go on the treadmill. You can't even go past 10 minutes, but you look so fit. It's not just what you look like, I believe. Talk to us about, you know, how important it is to maintain the balance between, if you love to look aesthetically fit, yes, do your weights, but also, you know, do some cardiovascular exercises.
Yeah, 100%. You know, you and I are not, you know, the biggest people,
typical,
but but we're not, you know, we're not skinny. So I think for those who want to have big muscles and everything, that's great. But as you're saying, cardiovascular fitness is very important. And the research and the current consensus is that you need to get at least 30 minutes of cardiovascular activity or fitness every day. Yes, at least. You know, and you can, so unlike sleep, you can split that up throughout the day.
Okay.
So whether that's brisk walking, or, you know, going for a jog, swimming, playing a sport. Some people like running up and down steps. My wife and I, we actually don't go to the gym, but we work out at home.
Okay.
So we have our own fitness regime. So it's 5 o'clock in the morning, we work out, and then that's us done for the day. You know, it takes a while to get into that habit, but once you're in it, you will feel a lot better. And, you know, being physically fit also helps with your sleep as well. A lot of people have sleep problems.
I've noticed that.
Yeah, you have sleep problems because you're not working out, because you're not active. You're just sitting at home doing nothing, or, you know, you're at work just behind a desk and you're not physically active, and that'll cause sleep problems too.
Yeah. Maybe let's go back to the sleeping once again, because I do notice you just, you know, reiterated something that I wanted to, you know, point out a question to. You really need to stretch out your 6 hours and just sleep that 6 hours. You shouldn't segment it.
Well, what I'll say is, let's say you had, like, for you, for example, if you're working 2 jobs, let's say you have this morning show, and then your next stint will be in the afternoon. So you only have maybe 4 hours to sleep in between. So if you were to split up maybe and say 4 hours here and then 3 hours later, that I think would be okay.
Okay, that's.
But it's not like 30 minutes here, 20 minutes here. That just wouldn't work.
Yeah. But what's recommended is, if you can, it's really recommended to go the full 6 hours or to 8 hours.
Yes. So and more especially at night, because the way the body is designed, everything shuts down. When the sun goes down, the body shuts down.
And I'm happy you're pointing that out, because it's a conversation that we've been having with my colleagues. Graveyard shifts and, early morning shifts, the body just medicinally and chemically is designed in a way that it has to sleep at night.
You can break that habit. I know, especially in our field, in the medical field, you do have night duty. And so, like, historically, you'd have a long stretch, maybe 10 nights working. And then you have to have a long break. So another 10 nights where you have to reset your body to go back to that.
That's quite interesting.
Yes. So the way God made us was, work during the day, rest at night. Obviously, there's jobs that they'll require us to do differently, but you have to build up to that. And then once that's done, then you have to build back to the new normal. Because all the chemicals and everything just go out of whack when you change the system.
We're not machines. We're not robots.
We are not machines.
So you telling me that if someone works graveyard shifts or awkward hours for pretty much the rest of the year without getting time to rest, that is a cause for concern. That's a ticking time bomb.
I plead the fifth. I don't want to step on any toes
not stepping on any toes.
Yes. So I don't want the message to be, all those people who do graveyard shifts and say the doctor says I'm not supposed to do this. I think there should be a structure to it. I think you need to respect, when you're done with that graveyard shift, you have enough time to rest. Okay.
Fair enough.
Because there are certain jobs which will require you to do that shift. The world wouldn't work without some people doing that. So you just need to make sure that you are doing your job, but also getting the rest. Because you'll notice people who are tired, they don't work to the best of their ability. They're short-tempered. They get ill like very easily. So it's very important. You work hard, but you rest as well.
Interesting. Let's talk about knowing your family history. I've heard this conversation come up very recently. I didn't know about it. So someone's dad, I'm not going to say anyone's name, got prostate cancer. And the doctor told him that, you know what, your dad probably also had prostate cancer. Let's look at the family history. Is that something that's really there? Because that would compel a lot of young men to be wary of their health at a very young age.
100%. I think especially with prostate cancer, you'll see a family line. So, brothers will be getting it, and then the sons will be getting it, and it goes down that line. I find, it's relatively new, the cancer study and things like that. So when you're talking about great-great-grandfathers and things like that, they might have passed on from prostate cancer,
unknowingly,
but we wouldn't know. So it could have been, going on for a long time. So now you have our grandfathers who only knew about it because they had symptoms and they went to see the doctor and then tests were done. So now that we have screening, we are encouraged to your uncle or your dad or a close family member had any type of, it's not just cancers, it's just hypertension, it's diabetes, chronic diseases. If a close family member has it, you should also raise that with your healthcare provider and say, look, there's a history of hypertension in my family. Should I be concerned about that? Can I check my blood pressure? Can I check my blood sugar? Can I come in for cancer screening? And that goes across the board, men and women. You find the same thing in breast cancer and cervical cancer. So, yeah.
Okay, we do have time. I have two more questions.
Okay.
I had to make sure. I've heard about a term called maintaining a healthy weight. Let's talk about this one because it's very interesting. You know how social media has gotten with PC culture, political correctness and all of that. You can't really tell somebody that they are overweight because you are fat shaming them.
Yeah.
But really it's a cause for concern if it's an unhealthy weight, if there's something called a healthy weight. That means yes, if you are overweight, that's unhealthy for you. I should be concerned about you. You probably should be concerned about yourself too. what is a healthy weight, and how do we advocate for men to really, really take heed of this?
Okay, so I think we've moved away from just, a standard weight, because if you take me, for example, my height and my weight should match. Okay, so if you have, someone who's 6'10" and is the same weight as me, you'll say they're underweight. So what we now are looking at is the body mass index. It's a BMI.
Okay.
And so it's a formula and a calculation, and you should be within a certain range. If you fall without that, outside of that range, either too high or too low, then you are overweight or underweight in layman's terms. So what we should be looking at is looking at how tall someone is, and then what their weight is, and then from there we can determine whether or not they're overweight or not.
And are these new technologies able to help us when it comes to BMI, like your Apple Watches and
Yes, definitely, because you would plug in. So with your Apple Watch or with your smartwatch, you would plug in what your weight and what your height is, and as it changes, because your height will always be the same as an adult, but as your weight changes, you plug it in, and it'll tell you whether you're within that normal limit or not. But you're right, with the world we live in today, with the political correctness, it's not always easy in the medical field to tell someone that they need to lose weight, but I think or they need to gain weight, because the malnutrition is on both sides of the scale, and people's perception of their weight varies. For myself, I feel I could put on some more weight, but my BMI tells me no, don't put on any more weight. You're fine where you are.
Quite interesting.
Yes.
I think that's my cue to go get a smartwatch. I've always looked at it as an aesthetic thing, maybe not a functional thing, but I'm learning right now. My parting question, cause for concern, particularly from myself, I'd say from the outside looking in. I'm seeing how drugs are being used, how alcohol is being abused, and how smoking is being adopted. And not that I'm judging anyone, but I know that there are disclaimers on the when you buy cigarettes, there's a disclaimer. Even with alcohol, there's a disclaimer. But it seems like people are not really reading, or let's say comprehending what it's written there, with the reflection of how they're using all these things. Talk to me about how these things, it's very important to use them in moderation.
100%. I think, so research will tell us your recommended intake, or daily intake, or weekly intake, especially for alcohol. And there's formulas and everything, once again. And men can take a certain amount per week, and women can take a certain amount per week. And that doesn't mean that you should just save all of that for a Saturday and just say, let me take every. It's a daily recommended intake. So so the whatever alcohol you're into will let you know what the safe level is. And once again, if you are going to drink, you should never get behind the wheel or operate any heavy machinery. When it comes to smoking, my advice is, just don't get into it. I do find that most of these things start at an early age. So if we would stop making, drug use or alcohol use, or even the use of tobacco, if it wasn't so, cool, people would stop doing it. I think people do it in social settings. And if we could find other avenues to engage the youth, and to take their time away from doing that, I think that might, do away with these bad habits. And I call them bad habits. It is a cause for concern. I think it starts, family level, giving advice to your children. It starts, from your doctors as well, giving advice, but also, from higher up, from government organizations and everything, adverts and campaigns, just to let people know. Some people use shock tactics and put adverts with, people being involved in accidents and things like that. But I don't find that works with the youth. I think, we have to find out what engages them, and then take them on that.
I mean, we're going through something called groove culture, and the word culture itself is just problematic because this thing is indeed a lifestyle now, and people are not drinking in moderation. So takeaways are, if you're going to drink in moderation. Don't put your alcohol don't designate them for a certain day where you're going to drink in bulk. That's very wrong. And when it comes to smoking, just don't smoke at all. That's the advice.
Just don't do it.
Dr. Kwaku Benaman, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate your insights this morning.
Thank you so much.
Ngolomuhle asibahlole etimakethe lo nendlebe sethemba ukuthi uvile kulabo besilisa sacala yona inyanga ya November. Sethemba ukuthi ke kutaba kuncane kakhulu ukuthi ungadinakekeli emtimbeni wakho. Siyeva ukuthi tinqomo tiningi kakhulu ekutheneni ungadinakekela kanjani. Uyajima, uyekela kubhema, unciphisa kunatha, una kanje nendlela lodla ngayo. Cishe nje kuningi kakhulu. It was a mouthful. What you take is what will help you. Asibahlole etimakethe sitabuya netindzaba tesingisi.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
Seven o'clock on the dot. Let's take a look at our English news. Her Majesty the Queen Mother has left the country for the Republic of South Africa. Her Majesty departed the country through the King Mswati III International Airport.
Maswati came in numbers to witness Her Majesty the Queen Mother take off. Her Majesty left the country for the Republic of South Africa through the King Mswati III International Airport. Present at the airport to bid farewell to Her Majesty were the Makosigati to His Majesty, the royal family and other dignitaries. On the news, Polile Mazia at the King Mswati III International Airport.
His Majesty King Mswati III has postponed Sibaya to Friday due to the current heavy rains in the country. This has been announced by Umgani Wemakhosi Indvuna Sifiso Mafelenkosini Khumalo on Tuesday.
Ninebekunene ngiphethe nati tindzaba letibuya enkosini. Itsi ingwenyama nali litulu alifuni kukhwesha noma kuhamuka. Nemibiko ikhomba ukuthi eMaswati lamanyenti akakhoni kufinyelela emabhasini atekwati kukhwela tinqola atekwati kufinyelela esibayeni. Ngakho-ke ngekweluleka kwato tangoma telitulu sibaya sekugcina angeke sisaba khona lomuhla njengoba tingemashumi lamatsatfu nakunye kuyo impala, kepha sesitawuba khona ngalesihlanu mhla titintsatfu kulo Lweti. Lilanga lekuvala sibaya ke ngalo lesihlanu Maswati lamahle. Emaswati ayakhutsatwa kutsi aphelele ngetinkhani kuwo onke emagumbi lamane emhlaba ngensimbi yemfica ekuseni. Tinqola tekuhamba titabe ticitfwe lonke live laseswatini. Bayethe!
The Ministry of Education and Training Under Secretary Schools Manager Lungelo Nhlengetwa, as well as Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Small and Medium Enterprises Director Mluleki Dlamini, say junior achievement and enactors Eswatini help in the fight against unemployment and improving the economy of the country. They have said this when Junior Achievement Eswatini and enactors launched their partnership on recently acquired Canadian sponsorships of over 500,000 Emalangeni to strengthen and empower the youth.
Partnership hopes to strengthen and empower youth in utilizing business solutions for positive social and environmental impact in Eswatini through training and seed capital. The proposed project seeks to strengthen the capacity of 1,500 learners from 15 schools aged 10 to E17 and 697 youth aged 18 to 35 in utilizing business solutions for positive social.
We are taking note of the concerns that young people are having, and we believe that even our government will assist in terms of rolling out programs that will address the concerns that they have initiated as by.
The Minister of Education and Training Under Secretary Schools Manager Lungelo Nhlengetwa and Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Small Medium Enterprises Director Mluleki Dlamini encourage the youth to start businesses.
As a ministry, we do want to see all children accessing quality education and also improve the economy of the country by contributing their skills. We are now honing particular skills for our children to be able to
Such initiatives assist us as government in terms of ensuring that we address issues of unemployment and also job creation. So we are seeing them being those that have a potential to employ and equally.
Speaking on behalf of Canada Fund for Local Initiatives from the Canadian Embassy in Mozambique is Ngobile Dludlu.
We see projects that gender-related, gender empowerment, women and girls that are focusing on women and girls.
The youth who are part of Junior Achievement and enactors say they've benefited a lot from the entity's programs. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla Mbabane.
The National Disaster Management Agency says about 183 homesteads were affected by the recent storm, which translates to 915 people affected. Mavuso says in most of the homesteads, window classes and roofings were damaged.
We discovered that there has been some damage to property, especially roofing and window glasses. We quickly did an assessment, a rapid assessment, and responded to those that were affected. And we came up with the following numbers that in the Inkundla of Lamkapi, there were 87 households that were affected, which then gives us 435 people. Lobamba Lomtsala, 77 households that were affected, 385 people were affected. Waluseni, 6 households and 30 people were affected. Mangongo, 4 homesteads and 20 people that were affected. Mhlambanyati, 1 and 5 people were affected. And then Manzini North, there were 5 houses that were affected and 25 people who were affected. And also Ukanyeni with 3 households 15 people were affected, which then adds up to a total of 183 households that were affected due to the hailstorm that occurred on Saturday, and then a total of 915 people that were affected directly by the impact of the hailstorms on Saturday. Maybe one would like to issue some advice to people of Eswatini that we're in that season where we're experiencing heavy rainfall and hailstorm. We would like to urge members of the public, community members and schools to be vigilant and ensure that school children do not cross flooded rivers, whether by foot or by car.
Murder-accused person Vusi Charles Mncina has appeared at the Lobamba Circuit Court, facing 4 counts of murder and an attempted murder count. Mncina has appeared before Magistrate Demanti Manze Shongwe, who has remanded him in custody until 10 November 2023.
Vusi Mncina, age 45, is the man accused of shooting and killing his girlfriend and 3 other females last Saturday at Kote Township, Eswatini. The first count is that he allegedly killed one Nonhlanhla Twala by shooting her with a gun on the right breast and left side of the back. The second count is that he allegedly killed Lungile Shongwe by shooting her with a gun on the right lower side of the stomach and the right side of the chest above the breast. On the third count of murder, he stands accused of killing Fikile Shongwe by shooting her with a gun on the right breast and right arm. The last count of murder is that he allegedly killed Kulile Shongwe by shooting her with a gun on the right cheek under the eye. On count 5, the accused person is charged with the offense of attempted murder, in that he did wrongfully and intentionally shot Tuli Mkhwanazi. The Crown made an application to get blood samples from the accused person. When appearing in court, Mncina had no legal representative. He informed the court that he was going to conduct self-defense on this stage. The court asked him if he was against the Crown's application, and he said he was not against the application. The court advised Mncina that he can move bail application at the High Court, and further that he can either move the application through his legal representative or by himself. On Monday, Mncina made a confession at the Mbabane Magistrate Court. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, Lobamba Magistrate Court.
A delegation from the Namibian Broadcasting Corporation is in the Kingdom of Eswatini on a benchmarking exercise at Eswatini TV. Eswatini TV Chief Engineer Titus Mavimbela says they are also looking forward to sharing information and learning from their counterparts.
We are happy to be with you today here. We've been expecting you for many reasons. We want to make that a relationship with you guys, sharing skills from Namibia and from us this side, and see how can we help each other. Our main aim is showing you our organization, the setup and the workflow from different departments. And what we have come here for, I understand that we are going to be attached to different departments.
Some Emaswati have raised the issue of land grabbing at the People's Parliament at Lutsitsini Rural Residence, which they say is a thorny matter for widows and orphans. Umhluma Foundation's founder, Lungelo Zulu, says the organization received over 200 land-grabbing cases. Zulu says among those cases, about 80 were resolved and the women got their land back.
Some of Emaswati were able to submit their issues during the People's Parliament, Sibaya, since day one. Some shared their stories of how they lost their homes unlawfully. Some even shared that they lost their children in the process. Umhluma Foundation, an organization that assists widows to get their land and homes back, says that they hope that the incoming members of Parliament will address these issues.
cases across the region on 4 emhlaba ayefika ku 200.
Lungelo Zulu, the founder of the organization, says that this year alone, they received over 200 cases of land grabbing, and that involves widows and orphaned children. Zulu says among those cases, over 80 were successfully resolved, although most of them are still pending due to a number of issues. He says that in some instances, the woman who is forced to give up her home is usually staying with the perpetrator. He says that in that case, it is usually advisable that the victim should be moved to a safer space, which slows up the process. Zulu says the relevant people are requested to do an introspection regarding these issues. Zulu says they hope that soon regulations will be put in place, especially those that will specifically address issues faced by widows. Eswatini TV News, Sondomlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Manzini.
The Ministry of Home Affairs notifies residents of Pigs Peak in the Northern Hoho region that the Pigs Peak Service Center is currently experiencing network challenges. The ministry's communications officer, Mlanvo Dlamini, says as a result, services provided at the center are limited at this time. Dlamini also says the following services are available with certain limitations. Services like birth and death registrations. The Pigs Peak Service Center is able to process current birth and death registrations. On ID enrollment, Dlamini says the ministry regrets to inform the public that ID enrollment services are currently unavailable due to the ongoing network issues. He further apologizes for any inconvenience caused by this disruption. He adds that efforts are underway to resolve the network challenge as soon as possible. He has added that once the issue is resolved, the public will be promptly notified and all services will resume their normal operation. Dlamini also says the ministry deeply regrets any inconvenience caused by this situation and assures the nation that every effort is being made to restore full service as quickly as possible. Since the beginning of the year, the Hoho region has recorded 47 murder and 48 suicide cases. This has been revealed by Real Eswatini Police Services Hoho Regional Commander Smangele Motsa during the official launch of prayer services where police will be praying for an end to the aforementioned cases. The prayer will be held starting from tomorrow until Friday at Pigs Peak Police Station.
During the official launch of the prayer service, Royal Eswatini Police Services Hoho Regional Commander Smangele Motsa is represented by Senior Superintendent Nicholas Chele from the Royal Eswatini Police Fraud Department. Chele says the church has power to stop the suicide and murder cases. He adds that there is the need to pray for new hope as a Maswati. Bishop Zachariah Mteta of God at Work Church says the issue of suicides and murder need every Leswati to pray for it in order to come to an end. On the other hand, Royal Eswatini Police Services Chaplain Mtutuz Makanya says individuals facing challenges should seek help from others.
Suicide.
Mbabane Police Station recorded 17 murder reports and 18 suicide reports, while Lobamba Police Station recorded 6 murder reports and 10 suicide reports. Meanwhile, the Pigs Peak Police Station recorded 24 murder reports and 20 suicide reports. For Eswatini TV News, Fortune Dlangamandla, visual source from the Royal Eswatini Police Services Communications Department.
Let's focus now on international news. Israeli forces killed 5 Palestinians in the West Bank this week. This was said by health officials in the occupied territory as violence escalates amid Israel's war against Hamas in Gaza.
Charred and damaged buildings, roads blocked by rubble. The aftermath of Israeli airstrikes on Jenin. Residents say the military carried out a raid on the city and nearby refugee camp in the occupied West Bank.
At 1 a.m., we heard alarm sirens coming from the mosques. Someone said the enemy had entered. Then I heard explosions and low-flying planes. I live in Jenin near the main mosque and saw people running. When I asked what was happening, they said Israeli troops had invaded the area, then gunfire, bombs, and explosions started.
They bombed with planes. This place was bombed with planes. And also the camp was bombed with a plane. There was a lot of bombing.
Jenin and its refugee camp are a frequent target of military incursions. Israeli officials say the area is a stronghold of Palestinian armed groups and supporters of both Hamas and Islamic Jihad. The IDF says its forces were carrying out counter-terrorism operations to apprehend wanted suspects. Several Palestinians were killed in the raid, their funerals held on Monday. Since Hamas militants stormed across the Gaza border on October 7th, at least 120 Palestinians have been killed in the West Bank, according to the health ministry.
Footage from the Israeli military showed tanks and armored bulldozers churning up bomb-scarred dirt tracks and troops searching shattered buildings for Hamas militants as the IDF stepped up its ground assault on the Gaza Strip on Tuesday, while the humanitarian crisis continues to deepen. Here's a report.
Airstrikes, tanks, and now platoons. These images provided by the Israeli army show that ground operations in the Gaza Strip are ramping up.
Overnight, forces continue to fight and advance in the ground operation in Gaza. In coordinated land and air attacks, they killed terrorists and continue to attack hundreds of targets of the murderous Hamas organization.
Hamas released its own footage of fighting, claiming that its militants ambushed 3 Israeli vehicles with anti-tank missiles and engaged with ground forces in the south. The IDF says it's focusing on northern Gaza for now, but aerial bombardments continue to strike targets across the enclave. And those airstrikes are taking a deadly toll on the civilian population. Residents in Rafah pulled bodies from the rubble of destroyed buildings.
We were sleeping. We woke to the sound of an attack on our neighbours, and suddenly rubble fell on us. There's nothing in this area, no resistance or anything like that. Everything here is civilian.
The Orthodox Church condemned the bombing of its cultural center in Gaza City, calling it a direct and unjustified attack.
This area was safe. We woke up to this destruction. This church that's been targeted by missiles, what was in it? Why is all this happening?
With the civilian death toll rising daily, the UN and humanitarian groups are stepping up calls for Israel to do more to ensure civilians aren't needlessly targeted.
Israel's United Nations ambassador displayed a yellow star on his chest on Monday as he addressed the Security Council, provocatively pledging to wear the badge until members of the body condemn Hamas atrocities. His wearing of the badge, which has come to symbolize the oppression of Jews since its imposition in Nazi-occupied Europe, was swiftly criticized by Yad Vashem, Israel's Holocaust memorial, which urged him to wear the Israeli flag instead.
As Israel was increasingly criticized by UN Security Council members for its massive bombardment of Gaza, in the middle of the emergency meeting, the Israeli ambassador pinned a yellow star to his jacket.
Some of you have forgotten why this body was established. Just like my grandparents and the grandparents of millions of Jews, from now on, my team and I will wear yellow stars. We will wear this star until you condemn the atrocities of Hamas and demand the immediate release of our hostages.
The gesture was swiftly criticized by Israel's Holocaust Memorial, which urged the ambassador to wear the Israeli flag instead, saying the act disgraced Holocaust victims. An episode that illustrates the sensitive debates and deep divisions within the UN Security Council. 4 draft resolutions have already been rejected since the war began 3 weeks ago. One blocked by Russia and China because it did not clearly call for a ceasefire. Others stopped by the US because they failed to mention Israel's right to defend itself. Meanwhile, the war continues.
We have said time and time again, I repeat, there is no military solution to this conflict. Every minute counts. Every minute is the difference between life and death for Palestinians in Gaza.
In the face of this gridlock, on Friday the UN General Assembly adopted a resolution calling for humanitarian truces leading to a cessation of hostilities. The non-binding text, which makes no mention of Hamas, was described as a disgrace by Israel's representatives.
Hamas released a video showing 3 of the more than 230 people Israel says were seized by Palestinian militants in massive October 7 raids, which triggered all-out war in Gaza.
The square in front of Jerusalem City Hall was filled with empty beds Monday, rows and rows of them, some for adults, some laden with children's stuffed animals. The installation is in tribute to the estimated 239 Israelis taken hostage by Hamas militants and held captive in the Gaza Strip. Also Monday, Hamas released a video showing 3 of the hostages. One of the women calls on Israel to accept a ceasefire and secure their release. Relatives of hostages at the bed installation reacted to the video with a mixture of sadness and hope.
I can't say what this video means, but to see that there's a chance that our beloved people are alive, it does feel good.
Hamas has so far released 4 hostages for what it said were humanitarian reasons. It previously offered to set the rest free in exchange for the freedom of all the Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. That offer was quickly refused. In response to the video issued by Hamas, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there would be no negotiation.
Hamas is holding over 200 Israeli hostages, including 33 children, holding them, terrorizing them, keeping them as hostages. Every civilized nation should stand with Israel in demanding that these hostages be freed immediately and freed unconditionally.
Netanyahu said there would be no ceasefire as Israel attempts to retrieve the hostages by military force. In Kiryat Gat on Monday, celebrations erupted outside the home of former hostage Ori Megidish. The IDF and Shin Bet announced that they had freed the Israeli soldier in a ground operation in the Gaza Strip. Megidish has since returned to her family.
As clashes between Hezbollah and Israel continue on the border with Lebanon amid spillover from the conflict in Gaza, the International Organization for Migration says that some 29,000 people have fled the region. Thousands have headed to Tyre, the second largest city in southern Lebanon, stretching the city's capacity to provide aid and shelter to the limit. France 24 went to meet some of the displaced.
Humanitarian aid for hundreds of families displaced in the region of Tyre in southern Lebanon. Since the 7th of October, more than 9,000 people have flocked to the coastal city, providing a major headache for Tyre's disaster management unit, which is working around the clock to take care of the influx.
Our first priority is to give all the displaced a mattress and bedclothes, especially as winter is approaching and people are starting to feel the cold. We don't have enough covers or pillows. That's our priority.
With 400 to 500 displaced people arriving daily, space is at a premium. Some have tried to return home, but faced with the danger of the bombings, have changed their minds.
They go back home for a day or two, but after the bombing of their village, sometimes using white phosphorus, as was the case a few days ago, they come back.
3 schools in Tyre have been converted into shelters for families that have nowhere else to go. In these classrooms are stacked mattresses, and some people sleep on the floor. Hussein from the border village of Beit Lif has been here for more than 2 weeks. He's struggling to adapt to his new conditions.
Of course, when you leave your village and your home to live in a school, you sense a lot of changes. Imagine there being only one toilet for 400 people. There's just one toilet and sometimes without any water. We're suffering.
The 2006 war with Israel is on everyone's minds. Many of these displaced are living through the same thing again.
Yes, we went to Beirut and we suffered a lot, but we didn't feel scared like we are now. We're scared because our conditions are difficult. You have sick people, children, and Israel is bombing. Israel is a country that has no mercy for children, for trees, for stones. This is what frightens us.
For another family, the current ordeal is even worse.
It's very different. In 2006, we didn't experience what we've gone through these past few weeks, especially in our village, Daira. We weren't bombed with phosphorus. The houses weren't badly damaged, with the exception of one.
All eyes are now on Gaza in the fear that another war with Israel might break out.
Top Biden administration officials told United States lawmakers that the White House request for $106 billion in emergency supplemental funding, including aid for Ukraine and Israel, is vital to the United States national security.
I'm very pleased to... U.S. officials pushing lawmakers Tuesday to move quickly to address war on two fronts, proposing $14.3 billion in U.S. aid to Israel and $61.4 billion in aid to Ukraine.
American leadership is what holds the world together. And if we fail to lead, the costs and threats to the United States will only grow.
Mike Johnson, the new Republican Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, released legislation late Monday separating aid to Ukraine from aid to Israel. That's a strategic error, according to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken.
It would do both terrible harm to our values, but also to our core interests. Values because I think all of us are united in wanting to respond to aggressors, to bullies who try to lord it over their neighbors. And in the midst of doing that, inflict incredible suffering.
Opposition to a new round of funding for Ukraine to combat Russian aggression is broader in the House, the lower chamber of the U.S. Congress. But in the U.S. Senate, Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has been a key voice supporting continued aid to Ukraine.
Russia would love to see Iranian-backed terrorists in the Middle East weaken America and our allies. Iran would love to see a Russian victory against Ukraine that divides the West and deepens its own defense cooperation with Moscow.
Some Republican senators remain concerned, arguing there is not sufficient oversight of the aid and that the U.S. cannot indefinitely fund a war.
We need to know that we have a strategy as part of this funding. I think it's very important in terms of building support for the funding for Ukraine.
Members of the Democratic majority Senate would likely block a standalone Israel bid, arguing it must be paired with aid to the Ukraine as requested by the White House.
It doesn't meet our national security needs. And as Commander-in-Chief, the President's never going to do anything. It doesn't meet our key national security needs.
Austin said not providing aid to Ukraine could ultimately lead to a U.S. confrontation with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
There's no question in my mind that sooner or later he will challenge NATO and we'll find ourselves in a shooting match.
The House could vote on aid to Israel as soon as this Thursday, where there is some opposition to the aid among progressive Democrats. Blinken said assistance to Palestinians would be a key part of that aid.
Humanitarian assistance is also vital to Israel's security. Providing immediate aid and protection for Palestinian civilians in this conflict is a necessary foundation for finding partners in Gaza who have a different vision for the future than Hamas.
Both the White House and Republican aid requests include $10.6 billion in support for Israel's air and missile defense systems.
Let's take a look at sports news. The Build It football tournament finals will commence on the 11th of November after the draw for the 8th team was conducted at Sikwaqa House in Mbabane on Tuesday. The Under-13 tournament finals consist of 8 teams from the 4 regions of the kingdom. Linda Master-Dlamini gives us this story.
After 17 years, Build It Stores partnering with the Eswatini Football Association, trying to develop football at grassroots level. Even this year's the Under-13 tournament finals will take place at the Mavuso Sports Center on the 11th of November after 8 teams from the 4 regions were drawn on Tuesday at Sikwaqa House, Mbabane. The Eswatini Football Association President Peter Samoras Milana is happy with the partnership they have with Build It Stores.
This gesture goes all the way because you know that we need to develop football at grassroots level. And if you do it correctly, in few years, you will reap the fruit. For example, they've made an example of the 3 players here who are the products of Build It. And they promised me, because in November, we are playing the qualification for the World Cup. They promised that they are going to beat Cape Verde and Libya.
Build It Stores operations manager Loki Varanekek says the tournament over the years has produced many national team players, which makes them even more interested in supporting local football.
For almost 2 decades, we've been committed to nurturing and promoting soccer development. This all in our beloved community. We are truly blessed to continue investing in the passion that unites us all, the wonderful game of soccer.
Conducting the draw were 3 senior men's national team players, Kanyagezo Shabalala, Eliso Dlamini and Kwake Twala, who are also products of the same Build It tournament. Moving along to cycling, where Kusekaya Cycling over the weekend hosted their annual race known as Kusekaya Lowfield Invitational Race. And the association's president, Zwite Nxumalo, is happy with what some cycling teams are doing.
Just won a competition locally where we are. And secondly, I think we've seen over the past couple of years with the interest, with the coverage, Yalama competition that's now locally, we are seeing a growing interest in the sport. Because we're seeing new faces, we're seeing new clubs coming into the scene. Dr. Shogona was khona lesikwendako lokungiko lokukhanga abantu usibete kulama events but bajoine cycling.
Kusekaya Cycling Team Principal Mtutuzi Kaundi explains on the objective of the race.
Inhloso yethu bekukuthatha le emabhayisikili siwasonzede ebantwini labangale ngasemakhaya ngoba ngathi kugcwele ama-competitions akhona ala ngasedolobheni kanti nangale ngendawo bakhona labashova ngebhayisikili. Kwesibili-ke ukuthi sikhone nokuthi simeme wonke umuntu onelibhayisikili kungabi nje kulawo emjako kuphela akhona lawa lekuthiwa mahamba kumagobondela nawo siyawamema siwatshele ukuthi angayeda nawo atokucuselana siwafake kucategory yawo odwa nabo bashiyane ngemandla abo.
The 2023 edition was the 3rd edition of the Kusekaya Cycling Race. Reporting for Eswatini TV Sports, I'm Linda Dlamini, Mbabane.
Let's take a look at our weather forecast. Go for a net break. We return with government spokesperson Alpheus Nxumalo.
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds, full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you'll go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience in the kingdom.
Okay, it's 39 minutes after 7. Let's connect now with government spokesperson Alpheus Ngumalo via a video link to get clarification on a social media post by Mr. Xolani Mazia, who is a Liswati student seeking help in Morocco. He took to social media with a post articulating his plight, and the government of the Kingdom of Eswatini has responded with a 4-page statement that has clarified most of the questions and concerns that Emaswati have heard since the post emerged on social media. Mnguni, welcome to the program. A very good morning. Sibona na social media post le yemcango lo seveni le Morocco. Sithena siyibona nje yenda ema-rounds on social media eMaswati ayayibona nyalo emakhaya. The exact social media post that Mr. Xolani made, put up on social media. It's a please kindly help me. I am Xolani Mazia from Swaziland. I came to Morocco to do my degree in the medicine. Unfortunately, when I reached Morocco at the beginning of this month, I and the group we were admitted with found harsh conditions to survive here. The standard of living conditions is very high. They are teaching in French and Arabian language, of which it's a language barrier to us. Some of those I came with are already booking their flight ticket coming back home. Eswatini, I am from a poor background. I hoped coming here will change my life and background. Please help me raise 10,000 emalangeni for a flight ticket. I want to come back home than dying here. I go for days without eating. I am currently having 2,000 emalangeni. Any donation would be accepted, please. Please help and donate. Any amount will be accepted, and we will be accountable for all receipts. Thank you in advance to those who will make a difference to my life in this trying time. He also has his banking details la followisha ke leyo post leyo. Mnguni, sibonile ke ukuthi eMaswati athe asafaka emavi awo ekuba concerned ku social media. We saw a government statement lebese ke seyaphuma. It's a 4-page statement. Kindly articulate to us ekuthenini iquketheni le statement lesi kunakulo sekubhalwe ngumcango lapha kule post yakhe.
I will try to my level best, my brother, to make the statement as concise as possible in our local language for the benefit of wonke Maswati. Kwekuqala nje asithi siyibonile le post nasi singulumende. Sathinzeka ke nasi njengoba onke lamanye amaswati athinzekile. Lesiya esikwende ke nasikhuluma nge-situation that is happening in other countries. Sivele sigijime sine office la government press. Siye foreign affairs. Nakule case les vele senda njalo sathinza be foreign affairs. Kwekuthi abasisite ngemaqiniso kule situation yamaziya. Ngoba asikwati kuyi-ignorisha nase icale kubhebheteleka ngale ndlela bebhebheteleka ngayo. Nekwekuthi ke lokakhulu lesikwelusile sonke singuhulumende nayo i-Minister of Foreign Affairs seluse budlelwane phakathi kwelive bukhosi bakangwane nebukhosi baseMorocco lokungisembona bukhosi lobugcinile eAfrica, if not in the whole world. Lobudlelwane budzala lobu nekuhamba kwalabantwana bemaswati bayele kube ngilo sito lwembuso waseMorocco lesinebudlelwane nabo netivumelwano letitsite lesikubita ngokuthi ngama-bilateral cooperation agreements. Kuyaye-ke kuhluphe nasekubonakala sekuvela timo leti kanje. Nembala-ke lo Office le-Foreign Affairs lithinzele ne-embassy yethu lekhona khona eMorocco eRabat. Kuvale kahle maqiniso ngendzaba yaleli jama. Lesi kutholele-ke bese kucacisa isiveni kwekuthi mhlawumbe kuliciniso kwekuthi akulungi noma ngakubani kuhlala eveni nangabe sovela uthuthile kuluhambile ngekwengcondo nangenhlitiyo ikakhulu futhi nangabe your expectations on arrival on that particular country were defeated and were broken. Endzabeni yamaziya-ke lesikukhanzile hulumende waseMorocco abetimisele kumsita ambambise kufeza sinqumo sakhe sekuthi abuye ekhaya. Kunetintfo nonke bekufuna atilandzele ngoba phela utawukhumbula mnguni kwekuthi na uniketwa imali ngumbuso. Umbuso timali tawo uyatilandzelela noma ngabe ngusendi lobovu losehlepu ekugcineni i-Foreign Affairs eMorocco kufaneke yathi ngamunye zuka lwaphuma waniketwa umfundzi weliswati kwathiwa selikhona lingeni leseklasini emva kwaloko lelo swati alisekho kodwa imali setibonakele tisebentile bebaluseleko kakhulu laba beMorocco kukhona-ke tintwa befundisa atiphendvule lagcina-ke nelo-office lethu le-embassy eRabat lingena nalo kwatholakala-ke bekuthi Maziya unebulukhuni kuphendula letinye tintwa letitsite nekubambisana nalabo befundisi bamsite. Ngingabekisa nje mnguni lesinye sizathu bekasibeka umcando ukuthi ushonelwe ngumakwakhe kwakhanzakala simase kuhlolwa akusilo liciniso ukuthi sekushonakele ushone makwakhe mhlawumbe ngepressure besanayo wamaziya ebesafuna ukuphuthuma abuye ekhaya ngesimo lasichaza kwela social media. Having said that, where are we today? We are here mboni naso sonke sive semaswati le-office lethu eRabat eMorocco liyasebenzisana nyalo nelitiko letangaphandle leteMorocco kwekuthi asitakale Maziya masinyane kufezeke tifiso takhe tekuthi abuye ekhaya wamcanco asikwati lokunye kulababalako ukuthi kukhona labanye labanjani kwanyalo ne-information lesi kusasitwa yena kwekuthi akhona abuye ekhaya. The statement nalombiko bowuconzene nekuthi ulungise leyo ndzaba leyo mngoni.
Ngoni kunendzaba lenkulu-ke lenye ku-social media sivetile nasicala kukhuluma ukuthi kube nesive semaswati lesikhathateke kakhulu nasicala kubona le post yakhe umcanco. Indzaba lenkulu-ke nyalo sive sesiphindze saba nekushintsha kwe-response yabo ekuthenini bebamvela yes siyasibona nje lesinye sive la social media lomunye nje labekamvela ubese soyabuya sobhala ukuthi awu attempting to defraud two governments at his age, good luck getting another scholarship. That's a cause for concern from Liswati Citizen on Twitter. Lomunye uthi kahle kahle xolani kunemaqiniso langakawavedi ebaleni awu kubhlunge lokho. Lomunye ubuye wathi xolani is essentially putting future scholarship awards in jeopardy for other prospective students who want to study in Morocco and perhaps other countries as well should these go out to the whole world. And njengoba vele sekuyindzaba yethu sonke sifuna kuva nje mnguni ukuthi engabe angathini emave empeleni latawubhekiswa kubo bafundzi belive la kaNgwane lesebahaye kuyawufuna imfundo kulamanye emave ekutheni should they come across such situations, how can they best or better deal with lawo ma-situations lawo singatikhanze sikunaku lesesitikhanze kuko lakhona lesinye sive semaswati sesinekukhathateka ukuthi eyi sekutasilimatela nathi emathuba ekwekuthi nasifune ama-scholarships in the future sikhanze ukuthi sibabane kusibalekela.
Kunjalo mnguni lesingakucela nine bakaNgwane kubantwana bemaswati nabaphuma labantwana nonke nine bekunene bayofundza lengaphandle bayaye baphume ngelitiko linye litiko le-Foreign Affairs timpepha sebatibusisile tonke letidzingeka kodabuya ndzawonye bese bayaphuma ke bayahamba baya kulawo mave lapho khona kutholakele khona lusito. Lesingakucela nje kunye nine bakaNgwane wekuthi nebatali babo phela labantwana la ekhaya we have a responsibility to keep in touch with our children in foreign lands. Nekwekuthi ke uma labantwana sebafile lebadibana netinkinga kude live lakangwane sine leside budlelwane nalo. Kungenteka nekube mhlawumbe kude lehhovisi lethu kulelo live. Kodwa liba khona lehhovisi lokungilona li responsible for that particular country or that particular region or continent labakhona khona labantwana. Kude sizathu sekuthi kungabikeki kwekuthi awu impilo la ayisi possible. Sicela nisendele lusito lekuthi sibuyele ekhaya communicate ke kahle nje kube semaqinisweni konke. Newekuthi ke nebekunene bantwana ngeke sabaduba noma sebende emaphutsa kanje. Ingonyama lapha ngalomnye umnyaka emnguni itaba ivisha sake sathukuthela lapha singihulumende badelegile lapha euniversity sasise siyawuvala yonke into lapha akuyawuphindze kube university kangwane. Yafika inkosi yathi hawo nintala senithuthele nicacateliswa abantwana anibadini bantwana. Lo ntele nebantwana nani niyabathi bantwana ibheva yabephethe nebheva inje hambani nibalungisele nibanike scholarship nivule university bawufunza. Ngithini ke nangisho njalo mnguni ngithi sibi kakhulu lesimo lesendiwa ngulelija kodwa nje ungete abantwana bese ubajaja ngebheva yemntwana munye. Number 2 noma ngabe sebakhona laba behave kanjalo uhulumende ufana nemtali njengoba lamavenkosi asho njalo. Sitimisele at any given time kusinakhona ama students outside this country laba yodadisha batholela isito letimali kuhulumende wakangwane nakulabanye bohulumende nebudlelwane nabo aba communicate nje openly. Oh, last nana challenge nayi, last nana inkinga nayi. There is always a government in office because of those very reasons. Kuseva emaswati nekuniketa emaswati lusito ngesikhathi lasidinge ngaso.
Ifuna nje kuvala iconversation yethu ngekuthola lesiciniseko ukuthi lo sitshela kona nyalo ekseni ukuthi hulumende welive la kangwane impela nasisi nje live la kangwane nelive la seMorocco bayisebenta indzabe ukuthi Xolani Maziya abuye ekhaya Eswatini. Emagama akhe ke ukuthi ke for lack of a better word ubese sobulala umntali wakhe aseseMorocco wathi ushonelwe ngumntali ngalapha ngakithi waveta indzaba ukuthi kunema language barrier lapho khona kube sekubabede kahle emaqiniso ngakhona lokho kube siwe kubekwa eceleni ngenzabe ukuthi maphathinza ukuthi bantwana vele might act certain ways under pressure but nyalo lesesikuko as a resolution ukuthi Xolani uyalithola lisito uyabuya ekhaya.
Hulumende wakangwane wenokunene through office lethu eRabat usebenza lokho ngeke kumsite Xolani kuhlala eveni lasavela hambile kulo ngengcondo emotionally kufuna abuye ekhaya. Lokho sokushoko it was a grave concern to all of us. Sibatale na hulumende wekuthi ubese ungena nje utekati indzaba etingazange kube khona pho ke utawuthini sesedlulile ndwando umntwana ngumntwana. Other certain situations and circumstances they do behave abnormally as he has done.
Ngoni, thank you so much for your time. Siyabonga ke ukuthi lusito uyalithola Xolani Maziya regardless of everything that emanated prior to ukuthi ke agcine alutholile lusito. Bonkosi sithola yona clarification from government spokesperson Alpheus Nxumalo on the issue of Liswati who is currently in Morocco lo articulate plight yakhe ku social media ngesimo nje lesimvelele khona asese Morocco. Kuvakele ke ekuthenini kukhona lapho khona akukhokhi khona emaqiniso ngale lokungabi in correlation nanakula kubhale on the social media post lebese ivele emaswatini onke. Nonetheless sibonga ukuthi uhulumende so umhlangabetile utawubuya ekhaya hlangane futhi nemndeni wakubo. Asibahlole emakethe masinyane sitawubuya sivala lihlelo.
We're talking about data today. Why should you care about data? How can health data help you? Here to talk to us about it is Dr. Samira Azma. Welcome, Samira. Samira, talk to us about what health data can do for us? Why should we care about it?
Vismita, why we should care about data is that data is just not about numbers. Data is about life and death and quality of life. Data is about people we interact with every day, our mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, and children. Data is used to empower them, and data is also used to hold ourselves accountable as well as the world accountable for the right decisions we should make to make the environments healthier for populations. Let me start by a basic question. Is that what kills most of the people? The fact of the matter is today, many of the deaths go unrecorded. And we don't know for many deaths and many people what kills them. The cause of death is not recorded. And with that, we have a blind spot. And data truly tells us where to invest, where to make a difference. Without data, we are truly flying blind.
So Samira, what you're describing is if we don't have data on births and deaths, clearly there is missing data, a lot of the times probably misrepresented data. So actually give us some examples of when health data has been used to save lives.
There has always been data that has driven successes in global health. For example, we know that tobacco use is responsible for billion deaths in this century. And we know that many more billions of people will have disability or will be driven into poverty as a result of tobacco use. And with having good data on tobacco use and tobacco control policies, we are able to know what solutions work the most to prevent kids from starting to smoke or for adults to quit. And we have very good cases, for example, from Philippines and Thailand, where those governments had the foresight and increased tobacco price as a result of tobacco taxation, and revenues were generated. That resulted in that these governments were able to fund their healthcare systems and health promotion in their respective countries. But we want more countries to use this evidence and data to drive these promising policies.
WHO works with data all the time, and a lot of the times data will be questioned when we generate reports. Talk to us about how WHO works with data and how can people know that they are looking at data that's robust?
It has been a challenge to gather real-time information on the COVID infections and deaths related to the virus and associated with COVID. There is often a delay in countries reporting to WHO because of lack of capacity or lag time in submitting data to WHO. But what happened with the COVID pandemic is we reported excess deaths for the first 2 years of the pandemic. And excess deaths is both the direct and the indirect deaths related to COVID-19 pandemic. What WHO does to produce such estimates is we work with world-class experts from all over the world. We come up with a methodology that we will use when we gather data and apply that methodology to address some of the gaps and challenges that I mentioned, that not all countries have similar access to generate and capture that data. And then we produce these estimates, but we consult with the countries. And there is a lot of back and forth that happens, and we update the estimates. And we continue to track population health trends in the quest to make the world healthier and protect people from health emergencies.
So does that worry you when you work with data, when WHO's data is questioned?
It is all about finding the truth. It is like climbing a mountain. When you keep working towards it and climb upwards, you have better view. So as we work with data and we gather more information from different sources, we have a better understanding and a better view. There is no absolute. When anyone says anyone is 100% accurate, we truly have to be cautious. Science doesn't work that way. We have to continue to learn and continue to refine our approaches so that we get closer to the truth.
Thank you, Samira. That was Science in 5 today. Until next time, then stay safe, stay healthy, and stick with science.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eveni.
Ngephansi kwalo mgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba letenteka ngaleso sikhatsi tindzaba letide emagama laqosheme letitsembekile letitsintsa tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni
kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo netemhlaba wonke jikelele siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhatsi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulo msakato siphindze sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letiqhamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lowutiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.